South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster has just walked out along with several other leaders from the service industry across the state. They're going to be announcing a new initiative to help protect the hospitality industry. So let's listen in.
Actions that we're taking concerning the virus. As you know, the numbers, we're testing many more people than before, and we'll continue doing that, continue increasing our numbers. And of course, the numbers of positive cases are increasing as they are elsewhere in the country. When we entered into this in March, we asked the hospitals to postpone, didn't require, but I asked them to postpone elective surgeries to the extent that they could, and they cooperated enormously and reduced expanded the available beds dramatically to where I think at one time about half the beds were empty. And it developed that those beds were not necessary, and so they began having the elective surgeries again. But still, as of today, they are able to reduce the number of, or increase the number of beds as necessary. So we think that as far as having beds for COVID, we are adequately prepared for that. One thing that we have been disappointed is the lack of compliance with the regulations, the recommendations, I should say, of the Department of Health and Environmental Control and the Centers for Disease Control concerning the wearing of masks and social distancing. The best way to control this virus is for people to have the knowledge about how it is spread and how dangerous it is, and we know it's very dangerous. And we know now that it spreads not just by the large droplets, but also by close proximity breathing. In choirs, we've had reports of choirs where most everyone in a particular choir would get sick when it turned out that one person started off with the virus. So we've learned a lot, and we also know that the young people, Dr. Burks recently said that her estimate was that in the recent testing, somewhere between 60 and 70% of the younger population from 35 and below had the virus, had tested positive around the country. In South Carolina, I think our numbers were recently, for those 30 and under, it was about 40%. Well, what that means is a lot of people have the virus and have had the virus and didn't even know it. And it's the younger people who do not have the underlying disease, underlying weaknesses in the system that are able to go right through it with minimal signs or none at all. And of course, it is the older population of those with underlying conditions that are at grave risk, and I mean grave mortal danger. So it is still a time that we must be very, very careful, particularly with school starting in August, and all the young people from younger grades all the way on up will be together. The chance for spread there is very high, but again, the population most greatly at risk for being sick and needing to go to the hospital and mortality, of course, is the older population. So we need to know that, and everyone needs to govern themselves according to that threat. And one step, a very big step that we have taken is called the Palmetto Priority Seal. And that is where the South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association, DHEC, and Parks, Recreation, Tourism have collaborated on an idea that had earlier been mentioned by Mayor Knox White in Greenville. They called it the Greenville Pride. Well, this is the Palmetto Priority Seal that has the active participation of DHEC, PRT, and the Restaurant and Lodging Association to provide a decal to go on restaurants that have passed the test and willing to conform to the requirements set out in the process. And that is, the staff will be wearing masks, that there'll be sanitation of the tables, of everything that you've heard about the menus, and all the facilities will be sanitized after each customer, and those in various spacing. And if they do that, if they have to take some training, online training, if they do that, then they will receive this decal. And that means that they are participating and that they are fully compliant. Now, how do we determine that they are fully compliant? Well, that's where the public comes in. And if they have this seal, and you go in, a customer, and you go in and you see that these requirements are not being met, then you can go on the internet and you can bring that fact to the authority of the Restaurant and Lodging Association. And they will inquire and they will counsel. And the restaurant will have 3 chances of not making it. And after the 4th chance, then the decal and the recognition and the clearance is taken back. And as for, I would recommend people, once this program begins and once the decals are available, if you go into a restaurant and it doesn't have this decal, it doesn't have this seal, go somewhere else. That's what I'd do. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what I urge everyone to do. And this will be the free market at no cost to the customer, with no limitation on anyone's constitutional rights. This will be a program and an effort that will produce a desired result, and it will work. So that's what we're here for, to announce today, and more details will be provided. John Durst is the President and CEO of the South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association. Dwayne Parrish is the Director of Department of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. And Marshall Taylor is the Acting Director of the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. John Durst.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor, very much. And I want to begin by expressing appreciation for your disciplined, strong leadership. It is my great honor on behalf of the South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association to bring just some very brief remarks about the program which the Governor just announced. We are truly living in a very different world than any of us could have imagined at the beginning of this year. During these unprecedented times, we've witnessed the incredible strength and commitment of our hospitality industry to recover. With the help of our partners at the federal, state, and local levels, we have developed guidelines which provide a roadmap to strategically maximize and hasten our recovery as an industry. These guidelines are largely industry-driven, and they reflect the incredible collaboration between the Governor's Office, DHEC, PRT, the Department of Employment and Workforce, DOR, SLED, and Accelerate SC, among others. On behalf of our partners, we are therefore extremely pleased and honored to participate in announcing this Palmetto Priority initiative. As we continue to work together, we look forward to strengthening the results of our unified push for a clean, safe dining experience for both our restaurants and patrons all across our great state. And that's what the Palmetto Priority is all about. Working together, we will be a model for resilience across our country, which will know what it really means to be South Carolina strong. Thank you.
Thank you. Dwayne Parrish.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, John. I'm Dwayne Parrish with South Carolina Department of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. If you think about all the wonderful food offerings we have in this state, from boiled peanuts, shrimp and grits, pimento cheese, we're so blessed in our agricultural heritage. So much so that in PRT, we've actually done tourism campaigns surrounding that. The South Carolina Barbecue Trail, our Satisfy Your Thirst Trail. We are blessed to have those, and our South Carolina chef ambassadors, they live this every day through the rich heritage of the food that they prepare and serve to both visitors and residents alike. At PRT, we're certainly proud to partner with the restaurant industry, and certainly we take it upon ourselves that it's a wonderful thing that they have decided to embrace high standards of cleanliness, health, and safety to make everyone feel comfortable for both visitors and residents alike. As the Governor alluded to, asking for patrons' feedback for the restaurants. And I think the great operators will certainly take the opportunity to sign up for this. If they're a member of the Restaurant Association, great. If they're not a member of the Restaurant Association, that's okay too. There's no cost for them to sign up for this program. So we think it's a wonderful opportunity for restaurants to show just how seriously they take this and how proud they are to be part of South Carolina's food offerings. I want to thank our collaboration with the Governor's Office, DHEC, and the South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association. Thank you.
Marshall Taylor.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. My name is Marshall Taylor, and I'm the acting director at DHEC. And what the governor said is true. The numbers continue to rise, and it's important that everybody wears one of these, especially with regard to our young people. Remember, you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for everybody else. So with regard to this effort, from the first presence of COVID-19 in our state, DHEC and the South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association have worked together to gather information and best practices to advise the governor and the Accelerate South Carolina on guidance for our state's retail food establishments. DHEC is proud to be a part of South Carolina Palmetto Priority, which is another great step our state is taking in continuing to protect health while we carefully reopen the state's restaurant community. The Palmetto Priority is a formal commitment that restaurant owners can take to show their dedication to adhering to the current recommended precautions for protecting their employees and patrons from COVID-19. DHEC will provide verification that a restaurant meets the criteria to participate in the program. By choosing to dine at a restaurant that has opted to participate in the Palmetto Priority Pledge, customers can rest assured that the restaurant has met the specific requirements established through the South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association's restaurant reopening guidance. The pandemic has made us all be creative and innovative in our ongoing commitment to protecting the health and well-being of South Carolinians, and we appreciate this opportunity to join our partners in protecting the state of South Carolina's health. Thank you.
Thank you, Marshall. Let me mention some of these requirements. The restaurant must complete a DHEC virtual food safety check or a limited scope food safety inspection, and that'll be available at different times. They must be available. They're available for free by scheduling it with the inspectors. They can confirm all of that on the website. The managers of the restaurants must complete the Serve Safe reopening guidance. And there's a 13-minute course available on servesafe.com. There'll be a certificate of completion. All employees of the restaurant must be trained on the appropriate cleaning and disinfecting, hand hygiene, proper face covering, and respiratory etiquette. And there's additional information as well. They must adhere to the minimum standards outlined by the South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association restaurant reopening guidance, and that includes a variety of things, most of which you've heard of before. They have signs about advising customers not to enter if they're symptomatic. Select one person per shift to be in charge of the safety and sanitation during the shift. Signs reminding of hand hygiene and proper hand washing for customers and staff. Each employee is required to wear a face covering, that is a cloth or paper face covering, face mask, or full face shield. Hand sanitizing stations have to be available for all customers and employees. Those are the kind of things, and that's only about a half of the list. And those are the kind of things that they must all agree to implement and to continue going in order to receive this. And as I mentioned, the fourth time that it's verified that they're not following those procedures and guidelines, and they lose their sticker. And again, this is a great way. It's probably the most effective way to get this done here. Are there any questions? Shauna?
So restaurants have been open or allowed to be open for 6 weeks now. Expand on the timing of this. Why now?
Well, this was an idea that came up during Accelerate SC. And as I mentioned, they have done it in Greenville. It's a little bit different. But this has been worked on for some period of time, and we believe that it'll work. At the beginning, the restaurants were more limited. First, as you recall, it was outdoor service only, pickup service, and then later it was outdoor service, and then it was a certain percentage of indoor service, and now it's limited indoor service with pursuant to the various guidelines. This is a way to guarantee, to certify to the public that that particular restaurant is doing all the things that the science today says they should do for best practices to be sure that that virus is not spread in that restaurant.
When's the soonest that they can actually get that discount?
When's the soonest they can get the discount?
Website is up.
The website is up now. What's the website?
It's on the,
Sure. Yeah, it's PalmettoPride.com is the website. It's available on there now. There's an application for restaurants to sign up right away.
How long does it take them to get it?
To get it back?
the sticker?
Governor, for me, the test that, I'm sorry, sir. The test that people who are interested in receiving the certification will be taking, it takes about 30 seconds to 60 seconds to go through the initial phase. There are several phases they can go through, but after they satisfactorily complete that initial questionnaire, they can push a button and then they receive their certificate and they're good to go. So we're ready to hit the ground running. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Governor,
Yes.
South Carolina Restaurant Week, is that going to come back this year?
Say it again.
South Carolina Restaurant Week, will we be able to celebrate that this year or not?
We have every expectation and plan to do so. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, sir.
And when is it?
Yes, it's in October, so we got a ways to go. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Governor, if an employee at a business tests positive, does that jeopardize their ability to participate in this program?
That will be handled in a slightly different way. There are protocols in effect to what to do when that happens, and the restaurants would be required, of course, to follow those protocols. Yes, sir.
So if a restaurant loses their seal, what's the next step? Are they still open for business, or what happens?
They're still open for business, but they don't have the seal. Now, they could reapply. They could confess error and agree to do it right the next time, and provided they did, they'd be able to receive another seal. But again, this if a customer goes in and they see that seal and they go in, and I would advise people don't go in if you don't see that seal. But when they go in, the customer is being assured by that restaurant, by that management, that restaurant is following these rules. If they are not following those rules, then I would urge those same customers to go to the website and provide that information to the Restaurant Association. The Restaurant Association will then follow up on that, and if it is not fixed, if it is determined to be accurate in the first place, and if it is found to be accurate, then they must fix it. It must be satisfied that it has been fixed. But then they get 2 more strikes, and after that, actually the 4th strike, they're out. They lose their seal.
Is that
Yes.
follow-up then to
Yeah.
make sure that because there is no surprise inspection by the Restaurant Association?
No. This is even better than that, because every time a customer walks in, that's an inspection, walking in the door, every time.
The limited scope DHEC inspection, what is a limited scope inspection?
So we conduct a virtual inspection, which is a checklist that we walk through online with the restaurant owner, and basically provide recommendations and guidance. We've been conducting virtual food inspections previously, and this will actually there will be additional guidance related to wearing of mask and to follow the guidelines that are being set forth.
How quickly can you verify the restaurants that apply for this seal that they're actually doing the steps they need to? Because from what it sounds like, they can get this seal pretty quickly. How can you verify that they're actually doing what they say they're doing?
Right. So we'll be going through that verification process immediately now that this has been actually put out there. And we'll be conducting we've been conducting these virtual inspections, and then after July 1st is when we'll be conducting these additional verifications with these restaurants.
If a restaurant continues to be a problem, could there be further action besides losing the seal?
Sure, DHEC has the authority under a different set of rules to take necessary action if someone is endangering the public health.
As you know, Columbia City Council will in a few hours probably vote to require masks everywhere in city limits. What do you think of that ordinance? Greenville has another ordinance.